testimonials and phone footage show the Ukrainian Army using civilians as human shields and committing atrocities. Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Thinking Out Loud. I'm going to skip some of the intro here and try to jump right into this video. Last night when I was doing some research trying to get some stuff together for one of our next videos, I stumbled across a huge thread on Twitter that had like an endless amount of videos and images that were somehow coming out of Ukraine, some from like Russian state media, others from media outlets in different Baltic nations, phone videos from people that are on the ground there living through some of the stuff. And I wanted to play some of these clips. Now, what it's depicting is the Ukrainian Army trying to prevent civilians from leaving the conflict zone. Now, a lot of these are testimonials that have been caught or reported on news media from the area of people talking about their experiences where they tried to leave. The Ukrainian Army stopped them, threatened to shoot them, warned them that they would be murdered if they tried to leave. And what it seems is happening is that the Ukrainian Army is trying to use these individuals, use civilians as human shields. I posted some stuff on Twitter a couple of weeks ago now where, you know, on the mainstream news media, we've been hearing a lot about how Russia is hitting civilian targets. They're trying to make it out like that's purposeful and that it's, you know, brazen and with no real justification for it. And it is terrible that it's happening. But I posted some information showing images of Ukrainian troops hunkered down inside of schools and hospitals, Ukrainian troops purposefully setting up artillery batteries or munition depots within residential areas, in apartment buildings and things like that. So what we're seeing on the mainstream media is, you know, videos of Russians hitting civilian targets or whatever. And they're trying to act like it's just they're doing that because they're monsters. Putin's a monster, but really it's because they're hitting military targets. And so what we're seeing here in these videos is Ukrainian civilians, many of them ethnic Russians as well, talking about how the Ukrainian Army won't let them leave, and they won't let them leave because they want them to be human shields, so that when the area inevitably gets bombarded and civilians get killed, you know, the Ukrainian media, the Western media, can spin that into a PR stunt to show that Russia is committing atrocities on purpose. And it's a war and terrible things happen and things like that, but I'm just trying to provide a little bit of context as to what's going on. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into this reel here of some of these clips.
Около домов накрытые, все. А вот в частный сектор я видел, хоронят там, где живут, там и хоронят.
Украинские военные как-то помогали вам, давали зеленый коридор?
Вообще никто ничего не давал, никаких коридоров.
В подвалах сидел.
Азов, сука, выезжали люди, Азов, блядь, расстреливал пидорасы, сука. Что Азов делал? Расстреливал колонны, блядь, мирных, нахуй, пытались выезжать на Володарск, расстреливали автобусы, блядь.
Выехали откуда? Как вы смогли выехать?
Формовались. Российские войска.
Почему? А украинская армия не помогала вам?
Украинская армия стреляла.
Прям в дом.
Я не хочу.
Вы рады, что вы выехали?
Конечно, спасибо вам.
Мы 26 числа не в подвале сидим. 26 числа. И сейчас еще я выехал.
Кого-то душ нужен.
А?
В подвале сидело 300 человек. Это в одном только доме.
Почему вы раньше не выехали?
А нас никто не выпускал оттуда.
Не давали коридор. Украина не выпускала из города полностью. Заблокированы были. Приезжали военные, говорят, ни в коем случае не выезжайте из города, если вам будет предоставлен коридор Российской Федерации. Они хотели дальше нами прикрываться и все.
Ни воды, ни тепла, у нас ничего нету, мы ничего не знаем. По слухам, нам сказали, что там вывозят, там есть коридор. Наш двор какой-то, как будто медом намазан. Приедут, постреляют, отъедут. Потом опять приедут, обстреляют, едут. Как живой щит? Мы как живой щит были. Что нас спрашивают, что мы хотим? Мы хотим.
С самого Мариуполя никто никого не выпускает. Нам просто повезло. Просто Ну, если возле двора ставят уже орудия, то ну, как бы это уже есть нехорошо.
Военные действия ведутся в гражданских кварталах, там, где люди живут. Позиции ВСУ после отступления были в гражданских кварталах. А сидели до последнего. Просто уже вытащили ребята за шкирку и сказали, что будет очень тяжело. И лучше гражданским покинуть. Все прошло хорошо. Начиная с того, что ребята ДНРовцы провели через позиции, которые простреливались, буквально за руку, там бабушек тянули.
Получается, мы, наверное, как в плену сидим в каком-то. Сидите дома, используют как живой щит. Эвакуировали российские военные, спасибо им, потому что обстрел был, еле выбрались.
Как там с ними? Огонь ведется из жилых домов, да. Это видят в окна все люди. Там ездят танки, там ездят грады, минометы на легковых машинах. По дороге у нас стреляли сзади. Лежали 1,5 часа не шевелясь. Когда уже замерзли, побежали.
Это скотское отношение к людям. Ну, как бы мы были как пушечное мясо, которым просто манипулировали. Они отстреливались из дворов, с танков и с этих пулеметов. И я могу уверенно сказать, что 85% ущерба городу это нанесли азовцы.
Города Мариуполя Бойченко в открытую призывал делать коктейли Молотова и бросать в российских военных. У нас там фашистский Азов, правый сектор, они творили такие бесчинства. У нас во дворе убила ребенка и убила женщину, остался 2-летний ребенок. Но у нас во дворе блокада полнейшая, нету ни связи, ни воды, ни газа, ни света. И нас дурят украинские власти о том, что все взято под контроль Украины, что Россия разбита и вообще там чуть ли Путин не в Гаагском суде сидит. Понимаете? То есть полнейшая блокада информационная. Такая идет просто.
Я знаю эту историю, причем...
Και μας σταμάτησαν Ουκρανοί στρατιώτες με όπλα και μας απειλούσαν κατά κάποιο τρόπο. Ενώ πιο πέρα μας σταμάτησαν ρώσικα τάνκς και μας ηρεμούσαν μετά από όλο αυτό. Μετά θυμάμαι που μας σταματούσαν έξω από πόλεις διότι γινόντουσαν μάχες αρκετές φορές. Και επίσης θυμάμαι να βλέπουμε από πάνω μας ελικόπτερα να περνάνε.
So yeah, guys, as you can see, a lot of that is very disturbing. You have several instances of Ukrainian civilians saying that they tried to leave. The Ukrainian Army wouldn't let them, particularly the Azov battalion or the far right sector, as I believe one woman put it. She claimed that children had been shot in her yard, that a caravan of refugees, Azov battalion, trained machine guns on them and just hosed down these buses with civilians on them trying to escape. One of those videos they talked about, you know, a bunch of them, I think she said 300 people were sitting in a basement trying to avoid shelling. And the Ukrainian Army, Ukrainian government said, you can't leave, you can't leave. There's no corridor. If you hear or see signs that there's a Russian humanitarian corridor opening up, don't go to it. We will shoot you if you try to go to it. And all this footage and stuff that I'm showing you is coming in the wake of, I mean, pretty early on when President Zelensky, the Ukrainian President Zelensky, said that all males 18 to 60 years old are not allowed to leave the country. They have to stay to fight. And the reason why that is for emergency conscription. Okay, and you can make what you want of that, if that's right or wrong. In my opinion, that's a fucking atrocity. It probably amounts to a war crime, forcing people to stay so they can be conscripted in a conflict that they don't want anything to do with, that they really maybe feel they have no skin in other than it's happening in the area that they live. So that's been going on. Then I have these images here. There were several more like this, but I just pulled up these two for you guys. This is on the Ukrainian border. Apparently it's like a border patrol unit catching young men that were trying to leave or flee the conflict, and you know, tying them up and laying them out. It looks like, I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like this image is from I'm guessing from that emblem, some sort of official organization with the Ukrainian government. I don't know. There's so much information I've been processing while I've been looking into this stuff. It's hard to say what's coming from where or how to verify it, but I just want to share it with you guys so you can make your own opinions here. So that's going on as well. I don't understand a scenario during a war if you're there to protect the people you say you're there to protect Ukrainian sovereignty, to protect the Ukrainian people from Russian aggression. If people are trying to flee by any means necessary, why would you be stopping them on the border? I don't understand it. But that's not the only thing that's going on here. Some of this next stuff I'm going to show you is pretty disturbing. So if you have like abuse trauma or PTSD, or really, I guess you could even say sexual assault trauma, I wouldn't recommend maybe, skip watching it. But what I'm going to show you here is a clip of a man tied to a pole, and he's being hazed. I've had other ones where, one of the ones I'm going to show you where a man's being beaten while he's tied to this pole. And I'm going to show you a series of photos here as well that depict what I'm assuming and what my research has told me are either Russian separatists, ethnic Russians, or minorities that are being tied to these poles and either publicly humiliated or even, I guess you could use the word, tortured. And this is being carried out by the Ukrainian Army. So check this out.
Ну что ты, уебок, как тебе дела? Что ты тут привязан?
Да.
Знаешь, что это такое?
Виноват, короче, я виноват.
Виноват?
Да, я виноват. Ну, знаешь за что?
За что?
За то, что, короче, алкоголь, короче, нет.
Вот, а где ты взял?
Я тебе
Уебок.
сказал.
Где ты взял?
Yeah, so there's that. I was pretty shocked when I've seen that. I understand that it's a war, and that terrible things are happening on both sides of the proverbial aisle here. I understand that Russian rockets and missiles have hit buildings and killed innocent people, and I'm not justifying any of that. But I understand it's a war. Emotions are high. People do crazy things. But my understanding is that some of this is being carried out by some of these far-right militias, and they're allowed to do so with impunity. And I don't see any justification in this. From what I can gather, these are all just civilians. These are regular people. I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm not on the ground there. I'm not a Ukrainian Army official. But the way it looks, these are just regular people that are either, like I said, suspected of being either part of a minority, ethnically Russian, or being pro-separatist or pro-Russian. And this is what's happening. And if nothing else, this is a great example showing that Ukraine is not this united front against Russia like they're trying to paint it as. Say these are Russian separatists. These are people being singled out because they support Russia, and they may be even looking at Russia as liberators. So when you see that sort of thing happening, it's quite clear to me that this isn't some united front where everyone looks at this Russian intervention or Russian invasion as some overarching attempt to conquer the region. But beyond that, I mean, the politics of it aside, it's just monstrous. And like I said, if it's being carried out by official organs of the Ukrainian government or army, we should be really questioning why we're asked to support a nation state that's doing this sort of thing. I mean, that's nothing new of us to be asked that by the U.S. media propaganda machine, by the military-industrial complex. We've been asked to support, Islamic extremists and things like that. But it's just another example of that. And this is the side of the war that they're not going to show you. That the Ukrainian army is carrying out atrocities against its own people, which are every bit as heinous and inhumane as whatever the Russians may be doing. And as of right now, despite all the, press coverage from the Western perspective, from the pro-Ukrainian perspective, I haven't seen anything like this being detailed as far as happening at the hands of the Russian side. So that's worth considering. I want to show you guys this too as well. This was from the Daily Mail. I'll also pull up the video here. Could not find the video in anything but with Ukrainian subtitles. I couldn't find it in English. So I did some research, found an article about it. It's from Daily Mail. It says Ukrainian doctor tells TV interviewer he has ordered his staff to castrate Russian soldiers because they are cockroaches. Gennady Druzenko, 49 years old, told Ukraine 24 he gave the order to castrate Russian POWs. The owner of a war zone mobile hospital told broadcast they are cockroaches. The Russian investigative committee opened a criminal case into the comments. The owner of a war zone mobile hospital in eastern Ukraine has told a Ukrainian TV interviewer that he has instructed his doctors to castrate captured Russian soldiers. Gennady Druzenko, 49 years old, told Ukraine 24 about the alleged order, but it is unclear if it was bravado or a genuine order that would break the Geneva Conventions. So yeah, guys, some downright dirty and terrifying things going on there, presumably by both sides. But I made this video because, you know, obviously all we're seeing is a Western perspective, a pro-Ukrainian perspective. Every day in the news, and every single news outlet, you know, CNN, MSNBC, every online journal from the New York Times to this or that is hailing Zelensky as some savior of democracy, savior of Western culture. It's, you know, saying that the Russians are perpetuating human rights abuses and doing all these terrible things. And then meanwhile, these are all very real testimonials and images that I'm showing you of the Ukrainian army doing the exact same sort of thing, perhaps even worse. And I'm showing you all this to make the case that there is no justification for the U.S. to continue escalating this, to send more weapons and bombs. I recently saw a video that talked about Congress nerfed the $15 billion COVID relief fund and transitioned all that money to like $13.6 billion in aid for Ukraine, $7 billion of which is going to the Pentagon to send weapons over there. You've had Zelensky going all over the world, all these different nations, asking for a no-fly zone. Now, either Zelensky's a fucking idiot, or he knows what he's doing, and he knows that that's a act of war that's going to escalate this conflict into, you know, parameters that I can't even imagine, perhaps even leading to a nuclear conflict. And so every day the drums of war are beating on the news media, and we're expected to support the Ukrainian army that's riddled with fascists. I mean, there's no way around it. Like, it's not a Russian talking point. It's fact. And these people are allowed to go out and commit atrocities, use human shields and things like that. And we're being asked to support that and send our tax dollars to it. And you don't have to be pro-Putin or pro-Russia, I'm certainly not, to understand that we should not be instigating this even more. We should be asking for diplomacy. We should be asking for an end to NATO expansion. We should be sitting down and getting these world leaders to sit down and pursue détente and a permanent ceasefire and reconciliation, and not sending them more weapons so that human tragedy like this can be continued. And that's just the facts. Yeah, guys, that's all I have for you. I just want to share some of this with you. I'm sorry if it wasn't the best video. The main thing is I just want to show you some of this imagery, get you some of the news or the on-the-ground events that you're maybe quite obviously not hearing about from CNN, MSNBC, and things like that. So, but yeah, guys, that's all I have for you. As always, it's great hanging out with you. I wish it was on maybe a little lighter subject, but unfortunately it's not. If you guys like videos like this, I'll keep trying to do more research and get things out to you. I have so many things I want to talk about regarding this conflict, but you know, I'm pretty constrained when it comes to time, so I'm doing what I can when I can, and I just want to thank all you guys for the continued support. So, as always, guys, I love you very much, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.
I don't feel any pain. I'm staring into the rain. I don't feel anything.